Afternoon. Dwayne here, Tack Room Bible Talk. And yes, I'm currently having a cigar while talking Tack Room Bible Talk. Why? Because I want one. All right? Simple as that. This is Tack Room Bible Talk. I'm going to start out with a story that may sound at the beginning would be better fit over on Dry Creek Wrangler School, but I think it's a good illustration of the point I want to make for Christians in particular, and just good people in general. The other day, we loaded up the horses in the horse trailer, and we went a few miles away to this park that we like to ride at. It's a big state park, and there's 20 some miles of trails, and it's for me, it's not very challenging, but it's a lot of miles, and it's really good for horses that need some miles. And so we go over there. So we went over there and we rode and loaded the horses up, came back home and pulled up here and turned the truck off, opened the back door of the trailer, and started unloading the horses. Now, there's two ways to unload a horse out of a horse trailer, basically. And contrary to what a lot of people think in the horse world, there's not a right and wrong. All right, there's this way or there's this way. Some horses do okay this way, some do okay this way. It's not a right and wrong. I prefer to back my horses out of the trailer. My horses are all trained to back out of the trailer. I just find that generally it's a bit safer if you're in a smaller trailer that's pretty well full of horses. It's easier. That's the way my horses are trained to do. Well, when I went to back Peso, my own horse, out of the trailer, he got almost to the back, and then he threw his head up like they will when they're pulling back. He wasn't tied up. I was holding the lead rope, and ran out of the back of the trailer, just pulling hard, like you'll see if you're a horse person. You see a horse pulling back on the hitching post. Well, it surprised me and it bothered me. I'm not gonna lie. So I just let him back in the trailer and had him try again. It wasn't no better that time. In fact, that time he was worse. He was more energetic, and you could use the word violent, more violent. Not violence against me, not violence against himself, not deliberate violence against the trailer, but he moved in a hard, fast, desperate manner. And he would come out of the trailer and he'd stop. Now, that's not acceptable for a lot of reasons, and mostly safety. And so I was frustrated because he's 5 years old. He's been backing out of trailers. I know since I've had him. There's never been a wreck. There's never been anything. It just all of a sudden, with no warning, no reason that I could see. And so my blood kind of got up a little bit, and I said, no, we're not going to have that. You're going to do this right. So I let him back in. I scratched him and petted him and approached him extremely calm, and then calmly tried to just have him slowly back out of the trailer. He wasn't having it. And then the more agitated he got, the more agitated I got, which is wrong on my part. That is definitely not the way to handle that. And so after a while, I just put him up. I'm like, we're not going to go through this again. I'm not fixing it. I can't fix it because I don't actually know what's causing the problem. So I put him up, and we've been off for about a week, and I had to take him up to the farriers to get shod this week. And I had been contemplating throughout the week what could be causing that, and what could I do to help him through that. And I hadn't come up with any answers. I didn't have any answers. Um, when I let him to go in the trailer to go up to the farriers, he paused and he's like, I'm not sure I want to do this. And I knew that was because of how we'd ended the last time, which was my fault. And so I just stayed really calm and really gentle. And he didn't fight me, but after a little bit, he climbed up in the trailer. And then we loaded the other horses and we went up there. When we got to the barn where the farrier was, I backed the other two horses out. He was all the way in. And then when I went up, I untied him. And I just turned him in calmly, slowly. I didn't let him rush, but he did fine. And led him out face first. And we did what we needed to do, and we got done with the farrier, and I went to put him back in the trailer. And this time he was a little bit hesitant, but not as bad. And he went on in, and we came home and went to unload the horses. And as we unloaded the horses, I took him and turned him around and led him out face first, and he was fine. Now, what is the lesson from that? There's always a lesson for me. Everything I do with my horses, I'm like, what lesson can I learn from that? What lesson have I already learned in the past that needed to be reinforced for me? And the lesson was pick your battles. And don't fight a battle that you're not going to win. And if you're not going to win, I've read, I'm just kind of rambling today. Okay, so if you've read Sun Tzu's The Art of War, which I've read like 3 times, a victorious general they teach in that book is a general who has already in his mind has already won the war before the war ever starts. He already figures out this and this and this. Well, if you don't know what is causing this problem and you don't know how to fix it, then it's foolish, and it's not necessary. It's actually not necessary to fix at this time. It can be fixed later. Then it's foolish to keep on with that battle. It's a really simple concept. Okay, I'm sure you get it. All right. Well, in our Christian life, the more halfway along the path of being zealous a Christian is, the more they forget that. When a person often first becomes a Christian, the joy and the peace, and they just want to soak in their newfound forgiveness, their newfound peace, their newfound freedom. And then when that kind of moves through, then they look around, they want to be zealous to help others. And that's where we start getting into problems. Because, and I see this every day on the channel, people want to fight battles that they're not going to win, and fight battles that don't need to be fought. I came to the conclusion, I don't need to fight this horse. This horse has an issue, and I don't know what it is. You can work horses as many years as you want. There's always going to be something that comes up and you're like, you know what? I don't know what's causing that. That doesn't mean I'm not going to figure it out, but I don't have it figured out right now. But there's no need for me to insist that he backs out of that trailer. So I'll just turn him around and lead him out. He's not hurting anything. He's not picking up a bad habit. And I'm not making the situation worse. I'm not reinforcing in his mind a negative situation, because honestly, I don't think he knows what his problem is. If all of a sudden I could open up communication with him and on a logical basis and a verbal basis and say, Peso, what is wrong here? What is causing you to be all of a sudden, for no reason, terrified of backing out of this trailer? I don't think he could tell me. So if he can't tell me, And I, from the outside, can't look at it and tell him, why keep fighting? When it's so simple to turn around and lead him head first. Well, as we go through life, we see people who have problems. And it's probably not a problem. But we see people who are not doing things the way we think they should be done. And so we insist and we preach and we point our finger and we hammer and we go. And all we do is drive into their psyche, this is a battle, this is a problem, and it just gets worse. When it's really not a problem. It's the way we like to see things done. But they have a problem with doing things that way that maybe in a lot of instances they can't even communicate and verbalize. But we can't let it go. And so we actually make it worse. As horsemen, going back to illustration, one of the things we have to do is we have to learn to pick our battles. Pick the battles. But the important part about that is we have to become wise enough to figure out what is actually a battle. What is actually a battle? Is this situation, is this important enough to even be a battle? Then if it's not, why fight it? Why fight it? There will come a time, if it's important, if it is an issue, if it's important, there will come a time down the road that we can say, okay, that's where that misunderstanding has come in. That's where that misconception has come in. And coupled with that, that is where my own shortness and weakness in growth and maturity has only exacerbated the issue and not helped anything at all. May I say to you young people, and may I say respectfully, gently, and lovingly, but still Dwayne, I don't question and doubt your salvation. I do not question and doubt your zeal. And I do not question and doubt your honest desire that things be done right. But you're pretty dumb. Okay? You're like that kid who has taken a year of karate, taken a year of taekwondo, and you know just enough to get yourself hurt. You know enough that you no longer realize how much you don't know. And so you are so quick to argue, and you're so quick to correct how somebody's doing something. You're so quick to correct what they believe. You're so quick to correct the doctrine. And many times it's life habits and doctrines that are not a battle. And you're not showing your superiority over the other person, whether that be spiritual or mental or verbal. You're showing your immaturity. And you're showing your lack of wisdom. And you're showing your lack of knowledge as to how much you don't know. If a doctor comes along and a man's choking to death, he's swallowed a whatever and he's choking to death, and he has a cut on his arm, I won't worry about the cut. All right. Is the life-threatening thing, is there a life-threatening situation? Yeah. Can we step in and help that? Yes. Will we? Yes. Now, if we work on a job site and the guy gets a minor cut on his arm, is that a life-threatening situation? No. And if that fella does not want you to go wrap his arm up in bandages and pour iodine on it and walk up and give him a jab in the arm with a tetanus shot because you've been Googling all these medical things, and you're a first year med student, and you think that number one, you know everything that needs to be known about health, and number two, you have a God-given moral responsibility to force what you think you know on everybody else, you're just a walking disaster. If I had been younger, which I have been before, and if I had not been humbled so many times by horses, I would have made that situation with Peso much, much, much worse. And what calmed the situation and what kept things from ginning up was not, it was me. It was me saying, I don't know what is causing this. I don't know how to help him through this. I don't know how to fix this. But I do know how we can just go around this battle. I do know how we can go around this so that there's not a battle. I do know how we can keep his mental, emotional, instinct state, whatever is kicking in there, from becoming a serious problem. The answer was not me imparting knowledge to him. The answer was me realizing the knowledge that I did not have. And I can tell when you guys get on here and you're young and you've started reading and you've listened to a couple videos and you're full of zeal and you're full of passion, but you're just dumb. All right? That's not me saying, okay, I'm dumb. The difference between dumb and really, really dumb is the dumb man knows and realizes that he's dumb. The really, really, really dumb is the man who doesn't realize what he doesn't know. And he actually thinks he has the answer to everything. You know, there's countless, innumerable doctrines and teachings in the Bible that I could get on here and try to teach. And I never do. I never do. Why not? Well, one of the reasons why not is because I don't feel like I have the knowledge to the point that I can take this to the full end if need be. So the things that I address and the things that you get on and argue about and comment about, that I will die on that hill, these are things that I have spent so many years studying and so many years working out, and things that I have decided they are eternal. They are eternal life and death. They are important. And so I go to it. Now I've been on horses in situations and they've had bad issues, and I'm like, this issue, this is a life and death. This is dangerous, and there's no other way around this. So I stay with them. However things escalate, I stay with them and try to keep things de-escalated, and we get through it because it is necessary. But I've been around enough to know that there's some things that are just not necessary. So pick your battles. Pick your battles as to what is important and what is not important. Okay? Pick your battles to what you have thoroughly 1,000% grounded and settled in your mind that this, I don't know anything else, but this I know. And if you're a first year, second year Bible college student, you don't know. You don't know. I speak gently, but I speak from a lot of experience, okay? And what is important, and how much do you really know, and what can you fix? What can you fix? Just as an illustration, you know, when this Candace Owens first came on the scene a few years ago, you know who I'm talking about. I respected her. I liked her. I thought this gal's pretty sharp. And I don't agree with everything, every viewpoint she has, but most of them I do, and she's pretty sharp. But then she started picking fights that didn't need to be picked. She started going that direction. She became a Catholic, and all of a sudden it was Christ is King, and I'm going to pick a fight with all the Jews. And I was like, you're going places that don't need to be gone. You're fighting fights that don't need to be fought, and you're stirring things up, things that you can't change. But here lately, she's like this thing with, I don't know, the French president's wife is probably a man, not. And I'm like, okay, now you're a fool. Now you're a fool. Because first off, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You say, yeah, well, they're lying. So, name me a politician that doesn't lie. Are we going to die on the hill of the fact that there's a politician somewhere lying? Are we going to? No, we're not. Of course they're lying. If they're not lying about that, they're lying about something else. And they say, well, she's presenting herself as he is presenting herself as a woman, but she's really a man. Okay, so if that's true, what does it matter to us in this country? What does it matter? Can we fix it? Does it need to be fixed, and can we fix it? No, and no. But she's raising all this Cain, trying to fix something that she can't fix, trying to fix something she can't even prove is true. All right, the only way to actually prove it's true is to go in there and physically check. Well, that ain't going to happen. So why are you fighting about this? Why are you raising Cain about this? And we do the same thing in church. There's very little, listen, all of the Bible is truth. There's much of it that's understood. There's much of it that's misunderstood by a lot of people. Very, very little truth that's in the Bible. Now, some of you are going to hate me for this, and you're going to throw a fit, and you're just going to, and that's okay. All right? You get on there and you throw a fit about this, and all you're going to do is show me your lack of maturity and your lack of wisdom. There are very few hills in the Bible that are worth dying on. It's not worth dying on. Okay? I may have told this story before. I'm getting to that age. I kind of do that. I was helping a friend build a house. And so I'd gone out and stayed with him for a few weeks while we framed in and dried in this house. And so we were sitting at his kitchen table, and he knew the Bible teacher I was sitting under and where I was and everything. And he said, Dwayne, how is it being out there with so-and-so? I hear he doesn't believe in original sin. Well, at that time, I was studying the process out, and I hadn't come to a conclusion out of the way. He said, so how's that working out? And I said, Scott, let me ask you a question. And he said, okay. I said, do you believe that all men are sinners? Period. All men are sinners. All men need the saving grace of Jesus Christ. He said, yeah, I believe that. I said, does so-and-so believe that? Oh, yeah, they believe that. I said, do you believe that the only means of salvation for any human being is for them to recognize that there is sin and that Jesus paid for that sin on the cross? And for them to accept through faith the grace that Jesus Christ offers. He said, absolutely, I believe that. And I said, does this man believe that? Yeah, he believes it. I said, then why are we having this conversation? He said, I hadn't thought about that like that, and you're right. Okay? It's not a hill worth dying on. All men are sinners. On the surface, how they got to be a sinner, whether they got it through Adam's sin or they got it by sinning, the point is all men are sinners. So don't die on the hill. Believe what you believe, but don't die on the hill. People get on and try to die on the hill of the second coming of Christ. He's coming pre-tribulation. He's coming mid-tribulation. He's coming after the tribulation. He ain't coming back at all. He's already come. And then people butt heads and they want to fight about that. And I'm like, that is not a hill worth dying on. He's going to come back when he comes back, and there ain't a dad blame thing you can do about it. You can't change it. You can't change it. So live for God right now. And whenever he chooses to come back, it don't matter. You're ready. Why are we running in and out of this horse trailer and picking this fight and ginning stuff up? It ain't worth it. People get all upset about, somebody smoking. Is that a hill worth dying on? As a Christian, is that a hill worth dying on? Do you think smoking is sin? Do you think smoking's not a sin? Well, I think smoking's a sin. Okay. Well, therefore I think they're sinning. Okay. He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone. Is there no sin in your life? Is there no sin in your life? The sin in somebody else's life, and I'm not talking about, a minister who is in constant unrepented immorality. I'm talking about people living their daily life. Women who have the unmitigated gall and audacity to actually wear apparel that pertaineth to a man. You can't die on that hill unless you say, I'm sinless. And I can point out everybody's little sin in their life because I'm sinless. So why? Why are there so many battles among Christians and so many battles in the church? You don't even know what the battle is. You don't even know if there is an actual battle. You don't know what you're going to do about it, because I'm telling you right now, nagging and screeching and condemning someone for getting a tattoo or having a beer or smoking a cigar, you're not accomplishing anything. And you're ignoring the beam in your eye while pointing at the mote in their eye. So all you're doing is stirring up a stink for nothing. Pick your battles. And before you pick a battle, make sure it's actually a battle that needs to be fought. Okay? Paul told the church, he said to, what was the word he used? It wasn't pursue. But the idea to pursue peace amongst yourselves. And as long as I'm trying to pick out and hammer you for every little sin that I think is in your life, and you're trying to pick out every little sin that's in my life, that you're not sinning that particular sin, there ain't no peace. And for those of you who, for whatever reason, refuse to just simply fall on the grace of Jesus Christ by faith and go along and try to find sin, because you have the unbiblical, mistaken idea that sin will keep you out of heaven, sin will keep me out of heaven. You're just picking battles that are not battles. If it's outside of the grace and the mercy and the forgiveness of Jesus Christ, the unmerited favor of the Son of God, you're picking a battle that doesn't need to be fought. Okay? Truth is truth. Eternal salvation is eternal salvation, all right? But whether somebody goes to church on Sunday, or they go to church on Saturday, or they go to church by meeting with their friends on the front porch, or they go to the church inside of $1 million building with a steeple, these are not battles that need to be fought. These are not battles that need to be fought. This is not eternity salvation things. This is a horse that would rather go forward out of a trailer instead of backward out of a trailer. And it's only a jackwagon fool that turns that into an unwinnable battle and causes contention and jacks things up unnecessarily because of their own arrogance, hypocrisy, and self-righteousness. And that's what it is. That's what I see so much in the Christian world. It's ignorance. It's hypocrisy. It's self-righteousness. And it's a desire to start battles everywhere that do not need to be battles for their own arrogance, so they can look more righteous and they can shine in the eyes of God. I raised 7 kids. I know what a tattletale looks like. All right. There's that kid that always wants to point out what the other kid did so that they look better in the eyes of mommy and daddy. Nobody likes that kid. Mommy and daddy don't even like that kid. They love them, but they don't like them. Because they're just tattletales. They're chumps. They're just chumps. We got too many Christian chumps today. All right? Pick your battles. It don't matter if the horse walks calmly backwards out of the trailer or calmly forwards out of the trailer. The horse calmly came out of the trailer. And it's enough. All right? We'll catch you guys next time.